Last week you all had Jack, and this week you got my sweet voice back, and no Jack. So we've had differing schedules lately, which has made it difficult to schedule a pod together. But this week you have me, Tommy Coughlin, bringing you an episode for Game 1 of the World Series. Eagles, of course, lead at 1-0. We're bringing on Landon Yurgaites and Carson Yurgaites to chat about it. What an electric moment for Landon. Again, kid is full of electric moments, so we're breaking down all things Game 1, all things kind of leading up into the World Series, some behind-the-scenes stuff about the venue we get insight on from Landon as well. So, great conversation, fun interview, always funny to have Carson on. And I think this was the most serious I've ever heard Carson Yurgaites speak in my life. Maybe the podcast format brings out a different side of him, so that was cool for me to see. But chatted with the two bros for a minute and then gave you guys about a 10-minute little fun story at the end of this podcast to wrap up. So sit back and enjoy. This is the Pipe It Up podcast, and cue the intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. And the Eastern Eagles have a 1-0 lead in the 2024 World Series, the same spot they found themselves in last year's World Series, which they ended up not winning. But hopefully this year it is a different story for Eagles Nation. Today, we are joined. It's just me hosting, as I said in the intro. Jack is out, got some stuff going on. But I do have a special guest, the man of the hour, Landon Yurgaites, the Game 1 hero here after Game 1. Landon, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Tom.
No worries. It's something about you in the World Series, huh? Just something about it, and the playoffs in general.
Yeah, I don't really know what it is, to be honest. I'm just trying to come through for the boys. So.
Well, come through you have in a big way on multiple occasions, from last year's World Series, this year's postseason series, leading up unto the World Series, and now in Game 1 getting the walk-off. So just, a lot of fans, of course, were there and saw it. A lot of people who watched online were not there. I was not there. So, but of course I was there at SoFi, and I was there last year with you guys at at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So if you're cool with rewinding a little bit, I wanted to start at the beginning of the day in terms of what the vibe was like, if it differed at all last year from your experience in Atlanta. How did the day really get going for you?
So the first thing that I will like to point out is the setup with the fans. I would say between AT&T and Mercedes-Benz, it was very similar amount of people, I would say. The setup this year was a lot cooler, though. It was really cool having the fans scattered along both baselines and the outfield fence, too. It made it seem a lot louder.
Did it? I was going to ask you that. So you think volume-wise it was louder?
Yes. It just seemed like everyone was obviously just a lot closer, and I think it was easier for the fans to get into it, too, since they were right there.
Yeah, that would make sense. I was just curious about that because last year it surprised me that even though they were a little bit farther back, it felt like at times they were right on top of us and it was super loud. So I'm assuming it was much more drastic now that they were actually right there.
Yeah.
And did you think that affected the series at all, or at least the first game? Did it change anything for you in terms of having the fans so close?
Honestly, not a whole lot. I do think it was really cool right before leading up to that pitch. They got a kind of a slow clap going, and then it generated to obviously a quicker clap. So they were really hyping up the pitch because it was a 1-2 count. So I think they were all kind of assuming I was going to strike out.
It almost seemed scripted. I'll be honest. It was so perfect. So was that the first slow clap of the day, or was it happening a couple times?
I don't think so. I think it happened on the pitch right before that too. It was a 0-2 count, and I watched it was a ball. I think Ryan tried to step out again. I think he did that step out two-seam back-to-back pitches.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to do it once he stepped to the side, so I was just kind of sitting on that pitch.
Yeah, we'll get to that pitch for sure, but I wanted to ask you too, do you think the crowd was more pro-Eagles or pro-Preds? A good spread? What did you notice?
Honestly, I would say there's probably a little bit more Preds fans. And it sucks for me to say this, but there's a lot of Mallards hats there too for no reason. Um,
That's sucks for you to say. How do you think I feel hearing that?
yeah, I mean, I there wasn't too many Eagles. It's kind of weird though, because like we're obviously selling the Eagles hats, we're selling the Preds hats, so people are buying
Yeah.
those. And then at the end of the day, you're not really sure. Like
Hmm.
Kyle, he was just like, make noise if you're an Eagles fan, make noise if you're a Preds fan. So he did that two separate times, and it seemed pretty balanced both ways.
Yeah, that's upsetting, Landon. I'm gonna be honest. That didn't make me feel any better about my early postseason exit and disappointing season. So if you're a Mallards fan listening to this and you were there and you were hoping to see the boys in green, I apologize. That is a bummer. No other way to say it. That is an honest bummer. But yeah, I kind of figured you'd say 50-50-ish because I feel like I kind of felt a similar vibe last year in Atlanta. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say so too. And then it seems
Hmm.
like as we started losing and losing last year, there magically became more Magic fans.
I would also agree with that a little bit. People, well, because if you're an indifferent fan, Landon, then you're going to be like rooting for the underdog, like 2-0 comeback. I wouldn't really blame people for that, you know?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. But there was definitely a lack of loyalty, I would say.
A lack of loyalty. Well said. Um, okay. I got to ask about the sunglasses, Landon. What
Oh,
what
jeez.
went into your decision to wear the shades inside? It worked, so I'm
So,
not hating.
okay. So there's a little bit for drip too, but I did have a reason behind it. Kyle kind of asked me
Okay.
the same thing before. He's like, dude, why are you wearing shades? We're inside. And the
Mm-hmm.
lights there to me seemed ungodly bright. Like you look up and it was just really bright lights. And I get kind of migraines from really bright lights. So I was like, well, I'll just wear these shades because it's kind of some drip. And I think it's going to save my eyes and hopefully make me see the ball a little bit better just because it just seemed really bright.
So it was a win-win situation for you.
Yes.
I personally thought maybe you were doing a little Jerry Jones trolling because there's been some recent uproar from a few of the Cowboys players about how the sunlight's beaming in and they can't see the ball. Talking about you, CeeDee Lamb. So I thought maybe you were poking fun at the sun.
No. Now looking at it, now that CD was literally complaining about it yesterday about that touchdown pass, that is really funny to bring up.
It is. That's why it was ironic of the timing of this upload to that play happening. But it's funny
Yeah.
because that was I've heard about the sun there before, not just this week, but of course this week it was bigger news because it was a touchdown pass that was dropped because of that. Um, so kind of funny that you were warm and you had a home run. So I think Jerry Jones takes some notes there. But let's get into the game if you're cool with that. Any other comments
Yep.
about pregame or the vibe?
It was kind of very similar in terms of like video on the Jumbotron. The walkout was really cool
Mm-hmm.
actually this time because the fans were on the sides. We were giving them high fives and stuff. They were cheering, getting loud. So that aspect was really cool. Now that the fans are like down on the field, so we could like high five them
That is cool.
going out of the tunnel. But outside of that, it was very similar to Mercedes Benz.
Do you remember last year when I yelled at you and Carson in the tunnel?
I don't, but that also wouldn't surprise me.
It's probably a good thing you don't remember that. But no, it was I just like some behind the scenes stuff for the fans, I guess. But like obviously we play those pregame hype videos, on the jumbotron, and then the players all run out. So I had all of that like outlined in an agenda for the players, and we went over that in a Zoom meeting prior to the actual series being played last year in Mercedes Benz. And I can't remember if it was you or Carson or both you guys, but obviously you guys are like having fun, enjoying the moment, whereas I'm like so focused on the event. And like I think someone like was about to start running too soon. And then I like grabbed someone, I'm like, no. And they're like, I didn't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? I told you all this and I wrote it all down, blah, blah, blah. So it was a funny, intense moment in the tunnel, like right before we all ran out. So I wanted to share that with the fans as well. But cool. Glad to hear it all went smooth. It sounds like it looked. I'll say right now that it looked great. I think the blue fence was cool. The blue batters mat, that was a nice
Yeah,
touch.
I
The
thought
blue
that was
turf was a
pretty
nice
sweet
touch for
too.
sure. Very Cowboys themed. And yeah, I think having the fans on the fields, it did create more of like an intimate environment, I think is the best way to say it. Just because wiffle ball is such a small game, so if you even though we were like playing wiffle ball closer to the stands than where football is played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, just the scale of the field is so small that any bit of separation from like crowd to gameplay can feel very large. So I think this looked like an improvement. Did most people, Landon, want to be behind the fence, or were they on the sides more so, or was it like an even split?
I think if the choice was for a lot of people, they would have wanted to be behind the fence. It's kind of just
Think
like some of
so?
the first people there just went behind the fence, and then everyone else kind of had to filter into the seating.
Hmm. I wonder if that was because people wanted a home run ball.
Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, there was a couple like foul balls off into the crowd too, but I think most of them had a pretty general idea that they weren't going to be allowed to keep it.
Yeah, wiffle ball is an interesting sport.
Yeah, we just didn't have loads of wiffle balls ready. So
Well, plus this again, like this would be a lot more walks with changing the ball in the middle of the game compared to like bringing a new ball in over and over again. It would be so much more. There'd be a lot less control from the pitchers with the different scuffs. Yeah, so that's why for those of you who are coming to games, are like, why can't we keep a home run ball or a foul ball? Well, again, baseball's a heavy object. It's much more consistent versus wiffle ball is very a ton from ball to ball from the different scuff patterns and how the ball wears and tears throughout the game. So pitchers tend to adjust to a ball and then they have to readjust, which can be tricky. So it's a better on-field product if you use the same ball. I think the podcast listeners kind of know that by now, but I wanted to make sure
yeah,
to cover that. Enough small talk. Let's jump to the at-bat, the walk-off, the big moment. Leading up to that at bat, there was 2 outs in the inning. I think at that point you were 0 for 1 with a walk, I want to say. How were you feeling? Like confident, optimistic? Were you feeling like you were going to strike out and go to extra innings? Like what was going through your head, honestly speaking?
well, I mean, when I'm hitting, I try to always feel confident. I think it was similar to what I said against your team in the NLDS. Even though I'd struck out 7 or 8 times or whatever it was, I still feel confident going into every at bat because, I mean, in reality, like when you're playing games that are this tight and this close, all it takes is a swing.
Very
So,
true.
like, one swing literally changes the whole entire game. Like, it flips from, okay, we're going into extra innings to, all right, we just won. Like that's how quick everything changes. Like that literal one swing that was 5 seconds of time changed the whole outcome of an hour-long game.
Yeah, for sure. You got a 2-seam. It was kind of up and in. Usually Ryan likes to get that pitch way outside, but a lot like Robles, he'll go to that inside pitch for the strikeout. Tried that on you. You got your hands inside, somehow made great contact. A pitch that was definitely going to be a ball, I think. Would have been high and
Yeah,
inside, it looked like to me.
definitely high and inside.
But a pitch you could get to. Now, he was throwing, I saw for sure, a drop ball, which was moving a lot. 2-seamer for sure. Was he sitting mostly 2-seams?
Yeah, so he started mostly 2 seams that first game. He was sitting 2 seam drop, and then you know how he throws that little like curve, kind of like a slide drop.
Yeah, it's like a
He
real
was
baseball
throwing
curveball
that.
almost.
Yeah, he was throwing that a decent amount in that first game too. And he mixed a couple of overhand sliders in that I wasn't really
Oh, did he?
expecting to see. Yeah, I think the one that one ground ball Dallas hit with bases loaded, that was an overhand slider, and he went a little bit away. I mean, in game two, I guess I'm not really supposed to talk about it, but he went a little bit away from that 2 seam and started going more like curveball and slider oriented.
Well, that's a comment that I was going to make later in the show and talking about looking ahead in the series. I do expect Ryan to start to evolve and change and get like more and more crafty as the series goes on, just because he's the only one throwing. And I've seen him do it in the past, whereas Dallas can for sure get crafty too, and I think he will as well. But I think Ryan could get like very like varying his deliveries and his arm slots and his pitches and his timing and everything like that. I think Ryan's going to start to get really creative. So it doesn't surprise me to hear you alluding to that in game two, which again, the fans have most likely already seen at this point, but you and I are just sticking to game one today here. But so you hit the homer, 3-run shot, walk off, bat flip. It almost looked like after you bat flipped, you like went into shock for a second. You kind of like paused and started to walk. Like, what was going through your head?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the same thing playing any sport. You have a super big moment and like you kind of just blank out and like don't really remember it. Um, but I was watching back on it and it was just like crazy. Like I just chucked the bat. I almost hit a kid too. You can't see on the video. I almost hit a kid with the bat.
One of these days, someone's gonna get hurt from one of these bat flips.
Yeah, just walked it off, and then I turned around and hyped the boys up. Um, Trot, and then you can see going around third base, I had a little smile on, and then that quickly vanished as I was like getting over to his home. I was like, all right, guys, we got two more. Like, we got two more. We sold this
Well,
last
that's
year, so
yeah. The Eagles' mindset. Jack and I talked about this has changed definitely so much coming into this series because you know how every game's a different game, and you start back at 0-0,
yes,
and it doesn't matter if you're down 2-0 or up 2-0 in a series. Anything can happen.
yeah.
So, was your mom and dad there this year again?
They were there. They were, and they got there. They were some of the first fans in. They got front row seats, and my dad was actually sitting literally right behind first base. So when I got those couple of walks earlier in the game, he would be talking to me. He's like, "Hey, he gets down in that count. He's going two seam. Sit on it." And I was like, "Oh, geez."
You're getting the dad advice in the middle of
Yeah,
the
my
game.
dad, he's awesome. Like he's like the biggest supporter there. Like he loves this wiffle ball so much. He's turning into that baseball dad, giving me pointers. It was awesome.
But he didn't get his. He doesn't think. I don't think he'll get his moment of fame like he did last year from the clip because he's not in the outfield this time.
Yeah, he's not gonna get his moment of fame, but he likes wiffle ball just as much as the fans do. He gets really into it now, and it's just awesome. Like huge shout out to my parents, like in general, them making that whole drive, that whole trip, like
Mm-hmm.
just all that stuff just to watch us play is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's sweet. I know that's how I felt too because I only played out of state a couple times, but one of the times that I did was in Philly, and my mom happened to come to that one, so I was glad I played good in that Philly series last year because she drove like 8 hours to be there or whatever, which was crazy. So I'm glad that your parents have seen you play well too these last few series that you've played in the stadiums. Um, and it sounds like you're thinking it was louder compared to last year's home runs that you hit in the World Series.
Yeah, it seemed, I guess, especially just a lot louder because they were all right there and like everyone just going crazy and they're literally like one of them literally caught the ball. Like that's how close they are.
Yeah,
And then another thing too, right when I hit it, I thought it was gonna clear the fans. Like
I thought so
I
too.
like I pimped it a lot and it died down a lot. And like it was
Was the
still out
fence you
by
think
a decent
deeper than the
amount.
Meadows or similar?
I would say like similar, like Kyle measured it. I'd say very similar, but I thought not that I didn't get a piece of it. I thought I got a little bit more of a piece than how far it went over by. Like I pimped it, walked it off, and like it got out, but like a fan that was sitting right behind the fence
Imagine it
still
didn't.
caught it. Yeah,
Imagine
I
it didn't.
mean, a fan sitting right behind the fence still caught it. Like I thought it was gonna be like 20 feet past.
Mm-hmm. Were the fans like talking to you during the series, like trying to have
Yes.
conversations or saying, okay, they were? Because that's how it was in Philly
Yeah.
too. They were so close to me. I'm having an at bat, and people are just like a normal voice. They're just like talking, and I'm hearing them, of course, and they're saying things. And I would like every once in a while, I'd jut into the conversation, kind of as a joke. But it's just interesting. It's fun. I think it's fun, but it sometimes can be difficult to maintain focus when it's like that.
But yeah, definitely on base. There were times when some fans would be talking, especially like the thing like Kyle wants to go quick between games to make sure we stay in the time limit. So like after that
Mm-hmm.
game, we're running off to the locker room to change jerseys. It's the same thing as last year. Like the fans will come around, like they just want to talk to you, have you sign like
Yeah.
the autographs and stuff. And
I know everyone wants the autographs, even though there's a meet and greet right after. It's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah. So it'd be like, no, we got to do it at the meet and greet later. Like we got to get these games going, make sure to get in the time. So that was
Yeah.
very similar, I guess, to last year. When the fans would be kind of in the stands and you have to go change, like whatever. So
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have Carson join us here in just a moment, but moving into game two, I mean, even the rest of the series here, the fans have already seen game two, but would you agree it's like a different demeanor with this Eagles team because of the fact that you blew a lead last year in the series?
yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, and the big thing is like you can see kind of my celebration. Like I had a little smile, but like right once I was getting around to home plate and slamming the hammer, I was like, I mean, guys, we still got two more games. Let's go. Let's focus. Let's win this thing. Blowing that
Yeah,
to a lead was definitely really eye opening, and we wanted to make sure to keep our foot on the gas.
foot on the gas, but should we expect to see Dallas again, I'm assuming, until he starts to struggle?
Oh yeah, I mean Dallas, he's been like perfect this
I mean, you could
postseason.
pitch
Like
in
he
this
hasn't.
series in theory. You could.
I guess
Yeah,
that's a bit of a
hopefully it
stretch.
doesn't come to that, but
Yeah,
it
that's a
could.
bit of a stretch. It could happen.
It could happen.
It could
What about
happen.
in terms of, were you surprised that the Preds put the bat on ball so much against Dallas? I thought they did a pretty good job throughout that game. Russell hit one to the wall. Somebody else did. I forget who it was, but I
Yeah,
feel like
Russell and Ryan.
they might have made more contact than you guys did in that first game, which surprised me a lot. A
Yeah,
lot.
for sure. What is there also to note was Russell hit a little ground ball towards third base, and Dallas and Zach they made a great play
That
on
was
it. Like
crazy.
Dallas kind
That
of
was
dove out,
crazy.
tucked it over, and got him out by like a step. That's an underrated play. Like nobody's talked about that play. People don't understand how hard of a play that was,
I just can't
and
believe it was made. Like,
yeah, it was
Zach getting there
wild.
and keeping a foot on the bag was insane.
Yeah,
And I just, if I was like, if I'm a, maybe this is why I'm a bad manager, but if I'm the manager there and I'm covering first base, I'm probably telling Robles to hold that
time to
ball.
hold it. Yeah, yeah,
And
for sure.
Dallas just like shovels it blindly and somehow puts it on two hops right to Zach in
Yeah,
kind of a
that's
perfect spot.
wild.
Like he was able to get out of the way of Russell running. I definitely think that'll be, what's our prediction on that play? I'm going to say maybe number 5, number 4 this year. What do you
I
think?
would say definitely top five. Like I know because
Top
Kyle
5?
knows how hard those types of plays are.
That's so
Um,
true.
but outside of that, like yeah, they made a lot of good bat on Paul, Russell, and Ryan. Each hit those two pop flies. Those are both scary for me. Sitting on the bench, I was like, oh, that's close. Those
Yeah.
kind of died
Zach
off.
catches him so lackadaisically, though. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's so nonchalant.
Hmm. So moving forward in the series, you said jersey change in between every
Yep.
game, right? Was there a lunch break this year planned or no lunch break?
We had it planned for after game three, but we ended up having a break after game two for because the
Ooh.
pizzas came early.
Pizzas came early.
Yeah, the
So you
pizzas came
guys
early,
rotated the
so
plans.
yes, so all the fans stuff got in the line for the pizzas. We didn't get any of the pizzas,
Mm, tough.
so we went
Fans
to
eat first.
Walmart. We went to Walmart and got some snacks and drinks. So we had those after the second game.
Nice. Did you get the chance at all to talk with Josh Young?
I did. He's a very good guy, and I don't know how much you've heard about the trip or not, but he Friday night, right before the game Saturday, he took us over to the Ranger Stadium, and we got like a
Oh,
full-on tour
nice.
of that place and went out on the field there. But yeah,
Little
what
private
I
tour with a
also
player. That's sweet.
yeah, and what I also did thought was funny, was that clip of me warming up, and I like smoked this ball. I was like just a deadline drive, just over the fence by like 50 or 60 feet, and you can see Josh's face like turns around and like looks shocked. I don't know if you
Oh,
caught that
really?
in
I'll
the
have to look at
video.
that. I
It's in
know
the
Josh,
warm-ups.
like on your home run, he put his hands up like immediately. He knew it was gone
Yeah.
right when you hit it, which is
No,
cool.
I was talking to Josh a little bit. He's a very nice guy, and he was there actually Friday. That was when we first talked to him. Was on Friday. He went there and like check out the field setup and was throwing us footballs and stuff. He's a really nice
That's
guy
fun.
though.
That's sweet. He's so nice. He's the best. I'm so happy that he won a World Series as a rookie and has had a great career so far in his short years. If he could stay healthy, I'd love that. He keeps getting hurt, and I feel bad for him. But
Yeah,
I've had the chance to meet him 2 or 3 times, and it's always like he goes out of his way to be a great dude. And like him
yeah,
going out
for
there and
sure.
throwing the first pitch out, during his off season, I'm sure he's training and stuff, giving you all a tour of the facility. Like that's awesome. Not a lot of people would do that. And I definitely wish him the best. It's also cool because his brother is a part of the Tigers organization right now, so I'm definitely rooting for Jace Young as well to have a good career. Because if he's anything like Josh, I'm sure he's a great dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Landon, do we think Carson's going to join us, or is he going to blow us off? What's the vibe?
I don't know. Is he in the waiting room or however that works?
I have not seen him. Maybe he's texting us. Well, we'll get to Carson. Let's see. He says, "Oh, here we go. Here's a text from Carson. Hey Tom, can you send me the link or the Zoom code to join?" Let's see
I'm
if I can
pretty
text it to
sure
him.
the he was in the email that you sent the link. I'm pretty
He
sure. I
was,
don't know.
but
He
he's
just
young. He
doesn't know
might
what
not be
he's
using
doing.
email too much. So Carson's still in high school, correct? You're in college now.
Yes, so he's a junior in high school. I am now a freshman in college.
What's it like being a freshman in college?
it's weird not being at home, and it's weird actually having to take extra time to do schoolwork. Because
Extra
high
time to do
school,
schoolwork.
yeah, high school, I just show up, do my homework in class, and leave. Wouldn't touch it. Now it's a lot of extra studying and a lot of extra, not like kind of extra work. It's not like required work, but you still have to get it done to do well on like the exam. So you still do it, but you don't get any points for
Hmm.
it. So it's really exam based and project based. But I'd say I'm adjusting fairly well, and it's been honestly a fun semester. It's pretty crazy though. We have like a couple weeks, then
Couple
Thanksgiving break
weeks.
for a couple of days, and then 2 more weeks of finals, and then we're already on our month-long winter break. So it's been going by so fast.
Yeah, those college winter breaks are phenomenal. It is crazy how much time they give students off.
Yes, I'm beyond looking forward to it. I think my last exam is December 12th, and we come back January 14th. So it's a
Oh
pretty
my
crazy
gosh,
break.
I don't even want to listen to that right now. It makes me sick. Excited for you because I already had my days, so I can't be jealous. Carson, what's up, man?
Nothing much. What about you, Tom? How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Thanks for joining us. I thought maybe we lost you, but then I opened up my iMessage here on my computer and saw you had texted me.
Yeah, I didn't really have a way of joining.
No, no worries. I sent you an email, but I shouldn't have
Oh,
expected you to open that.
oh yeah, I don't. I haven't looked through my email in a couple of months.
Hopefully, nothing important is in there. Maybe when you start
Hopefully.
applying to colleges, you should maybe change that habit in the coming summer. But
Yeah.
Carson, we chatted about you last week or 2 weeks ago, Jack and I. I think it was actually with Landon or with Dan. Maybe it was Dallas and your role in the squad. You're kind of like the glue guy, the vibes guy, watching your big bro here kill it. But I wanted to ask you just what really are you doing during the games to contribute to the Eagles squad getting these dubs?
I'm gonna be completely honest, nothing much. I cheer him on, very supportive. If someone asks if the pitch would have been a ball or a strike, I tell them that's really about it. It's nothing.
like a hitter who's up there who like
Yeah,
swings at a
like
pitch.
say Dan, for example, he doesn't strike out often at all. Not a great example, but if he swings and misses like an inside two seam or something, and it's not going to hit the zone, he'll ask me if it would have hit or not. I would just tell him no,
Okay,
or
and
something
that's
like
that's your main role.
that's about
If you
it.
had to give yourself a title on the squad, what would you say it is?
Team helper,
Team
help
helper.
out with whatever's needed, I
Wow.
suppose. If you need me to play, I'll
Whatever.
play. If you need me to just do whatever, I'll do whatever. Team helper is a good name.
team team helper. Um, what's it like to watch Landon hit all these clutch home runs, including the walk off in game one? Do you get a little jealous as his brother, like you wish it was you, or are you happy
Not
for
at
him?
all. I'm just incredibly happy for him. I'm used to him hitting clutch home runs in our Bay City League against my team, actually, but uh, just watching him do it in MLW is just amazing. That's awesome.
That's sweet. Do you think one day you'll have the skills to do that, or are you just more of a glue guy forever? What's your goal, Carson? People want to know. We
My
haven't heard a
goal
lot from
is
Carson.
to play in MLW, and I think I'm very capable of doing that. It's hard with an incredibly stacked roster as the Eagles, but I do think I can play a big role on a team.
Landon, how's Carson's game in the Bay City League?
That's what like the fans don't see. Yeah, so Trey is horrible at scheduling. So we hardly even play the
Oh
Bay
boy.
City games. Like he never schedules on time. So when we do play and play tournaments and play pickup games, Carson can hit. The fans don't see it because he doesn't really get his opportunity to shine. And when he has, it's been obviously hard since he doesn't get many at bats to adjust to what it's like for the MLW pitching. So I
For
think
sure.
when he does start getting his chance and more at bats, it's obviously a learning curve. Like it was really hard for me to hit right once I started hitting my rookie year. It takes adjustments, and I know he's got the capability to do it. Like he's hitting our Bay City League, and once he figures out and gets his reps MLW, it wouldn't surprise me if he's a solid bat.
Carson, would you ever leave the Eagles for an opportunity for more playing time?
It depends how the rest of the season goes, honestly. But
Okay.
I probably would, if I'm being
You
completely
would.
honest. Not that I don't like. I love the Eagles, love everyone on it. Dan's a great manager. It's just I've always wanted to thrive in the league, and I feel like I can.
Let me ask you this, Landon, before we let you guys go here. I want you to rank 3 home runs for me, Landon. Your first home run at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think it was a grand slam. Maybe it was a 3-run shot, I don't remember. First home run you hit there. Your home run against Robles to win it in the NLCS Game 1, or this walk-off home run. Rank those 1, 2, 3 in terms of memories.
Oh, Jesus.
Those are all huge home runs, dude. That's cool. You got all those memories.
That's 3 wild home runs. Like each of those home runs are like once in career type moments, and I've just been lucky enough to have 3 of them.
That's sweet. But it never gets old, right?
Right, it never gets old. I rewatch these all the time too. If I had to rank them, number 1 would be the AT&T walk-off. Like that moment was just so crazy. Walk-off, NFL Stadium, World Series game, fans there. My parents were there. That made it all the more special.
Yeah, that's pretty tough to beat. I would agree.
With the crowd clapping, getting into it, hyping that pitch up too, and then just for me to send it over the wall. And the bat flip too. That was my favorite bat flip I've ever had. So that home run, I'll say, is first. I mean, this might have a little recency bias, but number 2, I'll say my walk-off against you guys. That being in the 10th inning of that drag of a game and hitting that walk-off right after I hit the other home run.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a crazy 10th inning. And the hat throw, just the hype, the energy.
Throw.
Yeah.
I realized, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I realized last year, so we beat you guys in come from behind fashion last year in the NLCS Game 1, and I hit home runs in back-to-back at-bats in that game. And this year you did it to us. So it was your revenge.
It was revenge. So I would say that home run against you guys is 2. It's just so tough because, like, the Mercedes-Benz home run, that was in the 2nd inning. That cracked open a good start for us World Series. And then the video with my dad was awesome. Like, I didn't know that, obviously, in the moment, but seeing the video of that, that's really sweet. I mean, it's hard. It's picking between 3 great things.
No, dude, I'm jealous of you. That's, like you said, those are 3 career moments for sure.
Yeah.
Like home runs of that caliber in recent times for me was just the one in the NLCS that I hit last year. So, I'm pretty jealous, but cool. It's awesome. Like, I'm not jealous of you, like in like, I wish it was me, but I'm just like, I guess I'm happy for you is the right word. Like, I think it's so cool. You'll have those memories to, you watch those clips and like, it gives you the same feeling again. Like having that on video is so cool.
It's the thing, like when you're playing backyard growing up, you hit a crazy clutch home run, you don't see any videos, you end up just forgetting it over time, right? But this is
exactly
big moments, big stadiums, having on video. It's just so insane, and like that makes you really enjoy like going back and reliving that moment, because like I still remember all of those moments, and going back just rewatching them, like you're just reliving the whole experience again. It's awesome.
For sure. I agree, for sure. That's sweet. I wish you the best of luck in the rest of the series, games 3 and beyond. I know we didn't talk about game 2 today because some fans may not have seen it yet, but good luck to you and the Eagles. Carson, you as well. Maybe Carson gets out there at AT&T. Who knows? But maybe Carson's best is yet to come. I guess time will tell. But I appreciate both of you guys coming on the show today. Speaking to the fans, I know they enjoy it, so we'll let you guys both get back to your evenings.
See you, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
See you, Tom. Thank you, as always.
All right. Huge thank you to the Yurgaites brothers for joining me. Landon and Carson, great interview. Good to hear from them both. Nice people. Landon, I'm happy for him. I'm not jealous. That was the wrong word. I'm happy for Landon. So cool that he has those memories to look back on for his entire life, and who knows, maybe he has more coming in the future. But my final thoughts on the game, really game 1, is kind of like I mentioned to Landon while we were waiting for Carson to join the call, was that the Preds offense surprised me with their production a little bit. They didn't score any runs, but they didn't have a ton of trouble getting bad on the ball, getting guys on base via walks. They were really working the count on Dallas. Dallas did have a couple tremendous drop balls that worked him out of a couple jams, got him some strikeouts, but overall, they're putting it in play. And I think the Eagles are kind of starting to do the same. And the Eagles offense, I know just from facing them, they seem to get better and better as series go on, typically. That's why last year's World Series was such an outlier in terms of what RJ was able to do. Games 3, 4, and 5 was incredible. But typically, that Eagles offense, they see the same guy over and over again. They're going to get better and better. So my prediction for Game 2, don't have any fuzzy numbers tonight. Shout out to Shedball, but no fuzzy numbers tonight. He did the whole series, Fuzzy Frank. So I'm thinking a high-scoring affair in Game 2. I'll say we're going to see... I'm going to say we see over 8 runs in Game 2. That's my prediction. Over 8 runs scored combined in Game 2. We will see if it comes true. I'm assuming we'll see Dallas versus Ryan. You've already seen Game 2, so you know if I'm correct or not. If you haven't, go ahead and check it out after you listen to this podcast. But I'm going to go over 8 runs in Game 2. Next week's podcast, of course, we will be covering Games 2 and 3, and then 4 and 5 if necessary in the following week. But thanks again to Landon. And yeah, I think an offensive explosion is coming in Game 2. I think the bat of Dan Schultz is going to get going throughout the remainder of this series. I think Ryan will start putting bat on ball a little bit more, and I do expect Ryan to get very crafty as things progress, just because of what I talked about with Landon. He's very comfortable doing that, and now he'll need to do that in order to keep this Eagles offense off balance. So Game 2 is out right now. You guys can go take a look at that. If you haven't seen Game 1 for some reason, we've spoiled it all, but you can go check that out. And then, of course, Game 3 coming this Friday. Let's get into the comment of the week this week, and this one makes me smile as a Lions fan. If you're Dallas Allen or a Cowboys fan, I apologize, but this is from a Game 1 video, of course, and this person said, "That is the loudest I have heard Dallas Stadium this season," meaning, Cowboy Stadium, Jerry World. Yeah, it's been a rough go for the Cowboys at home this year. The Eagles just blew them out. The Philadelphia Eagles, that is, just blew them out on Sunday. I watched, so it's been a tough go for the Cowboys. I don't feel bad for your fan base because you've been good for a while. You haven't won any championships in a long time, but you've won a lot of games. So let me have my moment as a Lions fan, and then you guys can do your thing. But after last year, what happened, Lions Cowboys, I do not sympathize with you. And I hope Jerry never pulls the curtains, and I hope it's always a problem for your players. So that's what I'll say about that. To wrap up this week, shorter episode, of course. No Jack, no one to banter with. I tried to get Schultz on here, maybe Norp on here, but everybody's busy doing their respective things. So you just got Tom for the last 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, and I wanted to tell you guys a hilariously ironic and story that I never thought I'd tell, I guess. I, of course, am named Tommy Coughlin. Thomas Coughlin is my full name. And growing up, being a football fan and knowing sports and having a lot of friends that were into sports, there is a coach who coached the New York Giants for many, many years named Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin is how they pronounce it on TV. I say Coughlin, or my family does. And I've known that whenever I meet new people, they'll say, are you related to the coach? Is that your grandpa or whatever? And I always laugh it off and say no. But I also comment on how I've gone to Tom Coughlin's Wikipedia before, and him and I actually have the same middle name too. We're both Thomas Richard Coughlin's. So he's Coughlin, I'm Coughlin, but spelled the same. And of course, my name is the third too. So that's the only difference there is my suffix. So I've been getting that comment my whole life. And in fact, I just explained this story to somebody else recently at my job. And because someone made a comment are you related to him? And I said, no. This past Saturday, I am out near the University of Michigan, and I'm out at dinner. And this person who's waiting our table comes up and immediately was like, "Did you have the reservation under Tom Coughlin?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. Why?" And she goes, "My grandpa's name is Tom Coughlin." And I was like, "Oh, no way. That's so random." And then she's like, "He's the famous Tom Coughlin." And I was like, "You're kidding. He's the Tom Coughlin?" And she's like, "Yes, he is." The football coach. I was like, "Yes, I 100% know who you're talking about because I've been getting that joke made at me my entire life." So I met the granddaughter of the Tom Coughlin on Saturday in Michigan. I think she goes to school around here, and she happened to be my waitress at dinner, and she saw my name on the reservation and thought that maybe her grandpa was coming to surprise her. So then when I walked in, she probably and I think she was kind of keeping her eye open around the time of my reservation to see if anybody came in, her grandpa. And then it was just me, and she's like, "You're the Tom?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I met the granddaughter of the Tom Coughlin football coach, and I was like, "Well, you're gonna have to tell him that you met another Tom Coughlin." And I was like, "By the way, I don't actually pronounce it Coughlin. I pronounce it Coughlin. Like we don't say the H in our names." And she told me that, believe it or not, their family is the same way. But the media in football always said Coughlin because it's spelled like Coughlin. And so then it just ended up being depicted that way. The story that I was told, I think from my parents or my grandpa, was like some people say Coughlin, some people say Coughlin, depending on what part of Ireland you were from. The pronunciation got mixed up somewhere. So that's what the story I was told about the famous Tom Coughlin was. That's why he said Coughlin and not Coughlin. But apparently they pronounce it the exact same way that my family does, except the media just said it wrong. So that way, and then he never argued about it. And I never did either. Like I have friends who say Coughlin, and I have plenty of people in my life who pronounce it Coughlin, and I've never corrected them. So my high school baseball coach always called me Coughlin. I never said anything. So I get it for sure. And I was like, we have the same middle name too. I've looked on the Wikipedia page, and she was shocked by that. So I was like, you got to text him and tell him you met another Thomas Richard Coughlin. And she's like, I 100% will. So that was not a whiff by any means, just a really funny and random story that I wanted to share with you all. I think Jack would really appreciate that. I'll have to tell him to tune into this part of the episode so he can hear, because he's a big football guy, of course. So now the important Tom Coughlin knows that the less important Tom Coughlin exists. And we finally made that connection somehow. It's the most random thing ever, but I'm happy it happened, because it is funny when you share a name that's like not a super common name with a relatively famous person. So yeah, I thought that was a funny connect the dots moment that I never would have guessed would have happened in my entire life unless I actually met the football coach somehow. But the fact that I ran into his granddaughter, who's my waitress, is just so random. So anyways, that's my story. No humble homeowner from Jack, of course. Bummer. Whiff of the week. I wouldn't say I have anything too major to share. A lot of computer problems in my. You guys have heard about that already. All kinds of computer problems. I have two computers, both of them having issues, so that's been annoying. But nothing too bad to complain about over here. My prediction for the World Series so far looks pretty good. Fuzzy Frank looks on the money. We might have to catch up with Commissioner Tim Whalen from Shedball and Fuzzy Frank when the season concludes to take a look at how Frank did as a whole this year compared to Jack and I in predictions, because I'm sure we could figure that out. We didn't really track it over time, but it'd be a funny thing to see. But that's about it for me, everybody. Shorter episode today. No Jack. Next week, hopefully both of us are back on the mics. We've had some crazy schedules lately. It's been tough to get together and knock out an episode together in the studio. I miss the studio. It's not as fun recording here in this little tiny office I'm in. So hopefully next week we're back in the studio talking about Games 2 and Games 3 of the World Series. And enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed that first video as well as Game 2. I think it was a great production. Great turnout from the fans. Thank everybody who bought tickets. I'm sure all the players. Whoa. Bad one. I'm sure all the players and Kyle really appreciated to see the turnout. And again, I want to say a thank you to Josh Young. He probably won't hear this, but I could text him. Really cool that he came out and threw out the first pitch and did that. I think it makes the whole event so much more special for us and the fans. And so yeah, just thanks, Josh. You're a good dude. But okay, I'll let you guys all go. Dallas Allen is now a collegiate bowler, and we will see you all next Wednesday. All right. Blooper.
Pipe it up.